consider yourself to be a true fan of the Star Trek franchise? If the answer happens to be yes, today's video is bound to excite you even more. You see, the high point of today's video happens to be the cold-blooded, lizard-like reptiles, the ones who originated in the Beta Quadrant. Of course, we're talking about the Gorn, who have categorically been a deadly foe in Star Trek since the 1960s, so believe us when we tell you that they show no signs of going away anytime soon. And just in case you haven't been following, the cold-blooded reptilians are all set to return in Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 premiere, leaving us die-hard fans waiting with nothing but bated breath. So you think you know everything about the Gorn? Well, let's put that to the test, shall we? But before we get into our explanation, we do have a very small request. If you enjoy our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Now, let's begin.
It's here.
Who are the Gorn? How does their encounter happen with humans? Well, basically, we're looking at a warp-capable bipedal reptilian species whose interstellar government was known as the Gorn hegemony. Apparently, the first encounter between the Gorn and the humans took place either during the 2230s or in the 2240s. Mind you, this was when a 23rd century Federation colony ship, the SS Puget Sound, was laid hold of, and the ship's civilian passengers and crew were unloaded on one of the breeding planets of the Gorn. Now, if one's to take a look into the accounts of Starfleet officer Lieutenant Lan Noonien Singh, the human captives don't really stand a chance against their reptilian captors. The Gorn would either devour some of the captives alive or slit open their bodies as to use them as breeding sacks. And that's not all. Some captives would be used for hunting purposes before being fed to the Gorn younglings. As for the final survivor, it was Gorn tradition to eventually spare the life of the unfortunate subsister, placing him or her in an escape pod and sending them back into space. Of course, the survivor isn't expected to survive, and no points for guessing that Lan was the final survivor of the Puget Sound, having witnessed the horrifying death of her family, helplessly, right before her eyes. By 2259, there have been several contacts with the Gorn, one of which was the ambush on the third planet of the Phoenix system that the USS Enterprise had to deal with that very year. But because the Gorn rarely left any survivors, all of the multiple contacts were listed as never officially encountered. In fact, it was also in 2259 that the USS Peregrine, a Sombra-class Federation starship operated by Starfleet, succumbed to Gorn hatchlings that had surprisingly emerged from the castaways that the Peregrine crew had rescued from a Class M planet. Lan also addressed the species as plain evil, adding that they were impossible to empathize with because they were utterly remorseless, especially while they hunted. Now, the Gorn usually saw the warm-blooded species as their prey, and as part of their ploy, they would utilize the injured as bait to draw in more prey. If you think that's crazy, how would you react if we told you that they would literally let a group of survivors flee in the hopes of having them bring in more future kills? Adding more to the crazy is the fact that the species would also go to the extent of sacrificing one of them, or even their ship for that matter, so as to coerce their prey into revealing themselves and ensuring that only the strongest ones survived at the end of the day. A close look at their biology. What do they look like? Boasting green, rubbery textured skin and an average height of roughly 2 meters, the Gorn were undoubtedly stronger than most humanoids. As compared to the adult Gorn, the younger ones were way more agile and faster, but then again, the adult Gorn had greater stamina. In fact, a single adult Gorn had the power to deal with a fully armed Starfleet landing party effortlessly. Similar to most cold-blooded species, the Gorn detested the cold and favored warmer climates. Gender-wise, they were either male or female. Interestingly, for non-mammals, the females also appeared to have breasts, and to those of you wondering if we're joking or not, you can see things for yourself. Just be careful Googling that one. How different are their facial structures? While some Gorn had silvery faceted eyes similar to the compound eyes of the insects, there were some who possessed typical humanoid eyes intact with pupils. The Gorn also had ears on both sides of their skulls, which were basically nothing but simple hole-like structures. As for their mouth, they did have a rather impressive array of fiendish-looking razor-sharp teeth, and their hands and feet came with piercing claws. You might be surprised to learn that the Gorn have been compared to the extinct velociraptor given their size and bite radius. Unbreakable. The incredible resilience of their skin. Allow us to cite an example here for better understanding. Once upon a time, Captain James T. Kirk and a Gorn captain were engaged in battle, during which the former threw a boulder at the latter. However, the massive stone simply bounced off upon coming into contact with the Gorn. That's not all. Later, Kirk also attempted to cause a giant boulder to roll down a mountain and in turn hit the Gorn captain. While this did stun the Gorn briefly, he wasn't exactly wounded. This just proves how the Gorn in general possessed extreme levels of durability, and we dare not disregard their ability to take extreme amounts of punishment and still be fit as a fiddle. How does their life cycle work? First things first, the Gorn tend to reproduce by laying eggs inside humanoid hosts. Of course, the maturation cycle differs depending on the species of the host. It can last months within the warp-capable humanoid species known as the Orions, and at the same time, days within a human being. The host becoming infected will eventually have the Gorn younglings violently bursting from the body. Now, the newly born Gorn are initially white in color. They tend to become green after ravenously feeding and, in turn, growing in size. Mind you, this is also when they begin to shed their skin. Besides being extraordinarily fast and strong, the younglings are also four-footed and possess prehensile tails. No points for guessing that they're wildly aggressive, especially towards other forms of life, and at times even members of their own species. The hatchlings are often seen battling with each other, primarily to gain dominance and also to ensure in the process that only the smartest and the strongest ones survive at the end of the day. These bestial, territorial younglings also have ducts around their mouths through which they tend to spew out venom that can not only cause their prey to go blind, but also contaminate the surrounding hosts with eggs. What makes them even more formidable is their biological structure. The eggs, as well as the younglings, are completely invisible to any form of sensor. Additionally, the hatchlings can also prevent themselves from being sensed telepathically, so I'm sure you can imagine the level of danger that they possess. How many children do they have at a time? With the Gorn capable of becoming pregnant, cesarean sections have also been indicated. So far, the birth of 8 Gorn children at one time has been reported. Mind you, these infants are equally hostile despite being born via the medical procedure. Is Slar the most powerful Gorn? Slar was a slave master, one who was employed by the crystalline non-humanoid species known as the Tholians in the year 2155. It's only fitting to state that Slar was the headmaster of the salvage squad that was tasked particularly to strip the Federation ship, USS Defiant, that the Tholians had falsely apprehended from a parallel universe. Slar proved himself to be quite a match, especially during his fight against the Terrans Jonathan Archer and Major Malcolm Reed. Had Archer not ordered Vulcan Science Officer Commander T'Pol to expand the polarity of the gravity plate where Slar was standing, he wouldn't have been able to incapacitate the Gorn in the first place, which was followed by shooting Slar to death using a standard issue carbine-directed energy particle rifle. Are Gorn more powerful than Captain Kirk? Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 19, titled Arena, infamously marked the Gorn's first appearance in Star Trek. To those who don't recall this glorious moment, and we kinda doubt there's any here, the episode had Captain Kirk coerced to battle a Gorn captain on the planet Cestus 3. Now, while it goes without saying that the Gorn captain was physically way stronger than Kirk, the latter's resourcefulness and ingenuity helped him defeat his monstrous opponent. In other words, we would love to leave this part to you to decide who it is that you think is more powerful, and once you make up your mind, don't forget to let us know who it is. Marvelous verdict! Well, with this, we've finally come to the exciting end of our video. What are your thoughts on this infamous reptilian species? We'd certainly love to know what you think about them in the comments section down below, and if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Please leave a thumbs up and stay tuned with us as we promise to come back with another marvelous video soon. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and until next time, stay safe and stay marvelous.